You are tuned in to the Foxcast podcast, the one and only podcast devoted strictly to Ford-powered Fox bodies. What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Foxcast podcast. This episode is brought to you by our bros at Hanlon Motorsports, hanlonmotorsports.com. They are your Tremec 5 and 6-speed experts, rebuilds, upgrades, freshening, whatever you need. Check them out. They are awesome. So what's up, guys? On this episode, I am flying solo today. Had a lot of inquiries and questions and just people wondering what in God's name is Foxcast Media, what's it all about, what's the what. So I decided I was going to get this show going and just kind of give everybody a backstory on what we're all about, what we're doing, where we're going. In a nutshell, Foxcast Media is the future of automotive media. And I'm going to explain why I say that and what exactly that means. I'm a little bit old school. I got into Mustangs back in the very early 90s, actually around 1990, and that's when the magazines were it. That was the only way you could consume automotive media content. Super Fords, I read Super Fords back to front to back. They were the Bible, and I would read every single copy I got probably 100, 200 times. And yes, they sat beside the toilet. I guarantee if you're listening to this, you probably had a stack of magazines by your toilet too. And that was all through the 90s. Muscle Mustangs and Fast Fords came on the scenes. I'd subscribed to them, and I loved all the guys over there as well. All the epic content. That was the golden years of the Fox bodies. The early 90s all the way through the 2000s is when not only did Fox bodies rule the streets, but there was a change in how cars made power, in that before, in the 80s, carburetors ruled, and in the 90s, the fuel injection that was available that was standard on the Mustangs, that was totally new, but people were starting to figure it out. The automotive aftermarket was figuring out how in the world to make power and do it using the fuel injection. And so it was a learning curve for everybody. I mean, every week you'd see something new come out, but how they figured out how to do this or figure out how to do that, and bigger injectors, bigger throttle bodies, and how to make a supercharger work with the old style FMUs. And it was a crazy time, and I lived all of that. And it was, sometimes I miss it because it was like the infancy of what the aftermarket and what the Mustang community as a whole is now. Without the Fox body, all the newer Mustangs would not exist. And if you think that's BS, you need to go back and read how Ford was going to try to replace the Mustang with the Probe. That's just facts. But back to the history part of it. Muscle Mustangs, and then, of course, 5.0 Mustang and Super Fords came around, I believe, in 1998. And we had the two guys from there, Steve Turner and KJ Jones. They were on the second podcast that we did. You need to go back and listen to that. Those guys are awesome. Shout out to my bros. But, and then something was happening during this time, around 1997, 98. The internet was kind of coming into its own. And, I don't think I need to tell you that the internet pretty much changed the world, and it did. And with that came automotive forums. And the forums, that I would frequent would be the Corral, Stangnet, Four-Eyed Pride, Southeastern Fox Bodies, stuff like that. And the forums were absolutely huge because now you could sit and talk to other guys, that had the same illness as you and the sickness with, cars and modifying them. And you could do build posts and, ask questions and discuss mods and all this. And so the forums just exploded. They were huge. And I mean, you would have, threads that were 400 pages long. It was insane. So, through the very, very late 90s on into the mid 2000s, um, not only did you have the magazines, but you had the forums as well. And it was a epic time. I mean, there was so much information out there, and it was a way that people connected, with other guys like them. The forums were huge, and we would get on there and we would talk about stuff we saw in the magazines, and everybody had their opinion. There was some opinions that weren't quite so, shall we say, accurate, and some that were. But that was an epic time, and the forums really made that happen. So around 2007, this funny little thing called Facebook shows up, and for a couple of years it wasn't, it was somewhat irrelevant, but as time went on, it it started taking off, and where things kind of started to pop in my mind was the first time that I found out that I couldn't get 50 Mustang and Super Ford anymore, and that sucked because I loved the magazine. I absolutely, it was awesome. It just the way they wrote, and they presented things, was awesome to me. And they kind of merged with Super Ford, so I lost Super Ford years back when they merged, and now I've lost 50 Mustang. And at this time I would still spend a lot of times on the forums, and as Facebook and Twitter at that time started to gain some momentum, the forums started to die off, and it was slow at first, and as time continued to go on, they just the people that were on it got less and less, and it was frustrating to me. So flashback to back around 99 2000 for me. um, I wanted to build something. I wanted to have like a forum and do, a magazine and all that. And obviously, I couldn't do a magazine because the cost was ridiculous. I had no skills. I had nothing. Um, I had this old HP desktop computer, and I tried using, I think it was called Microsoft Silverlight. And I tried to, or no, not Silverlight. Maybe it was Silverlight. But anyway, it was this Microsoft software that was on my computer, and it was supposed to let you, design your own website. And so I messed with it. I managed to get one page going, and I never actually got it online. Back then you couldn't, I had no idea about how to buy domain names and hosting and all this other stuff. And so nothing ever happened with it. And I worked for quite a while to try and buy some vBulletin software to do a forum. I wanted to do my own forum. And software was expensive, the hosting was expensive, and I just, I got to a point where I realized I just wasn't going to be able to make it happen. So, back to back in 2010, 2011, I was really getting the urge. I've always just been kind of that person where if I've got something in my head, then I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to, I'm not going to be able to sleep at night until I'm actually doing something. Um, so fast forward to 2015. It's around May, and I had been messing with doing some podcasting. I had this little crappy show on iTunes, and it was terrible. Nobody listened. I think I was the only one that listened, and I just I had a little website that I had made. It was my first one actually got published online, so I learned all the ins and outs of what it took to build a website and to buy a domain, to pay for hosting, how all that stuff works. And I think it was one Saturday afternoon. I was just sitting there. I didn't really enjoy what I was doing, and since I knew how to buy domain names, I was thinking, I need to do a Fox Body podcast. It was like that would be fun. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what is exciting to me, and that's what I'm into. And I don't have magazines anymore. The forums are boring because nobody's on them. And so I sat down and I bought the domain name Foxcast, Foxcast, and it was kind of putting together Fox Body and podcast, and it became Foxcast. And I sat on it for about 3 months, and I was all the time I was sitting there, just thinking, hey, what can I do with this? How can I promote this? I mean, I can do a Fox Body podcast, but no one's going to know what this is, how to find it, you know, if I don't have uh, some way for people to know what's going on with it or how to get it. So I got on Facebook and I started rooting around. I figured out how to make a page, and not a personal page, but an actual page. And so I got a page going, and it was pretty sad. It was really sad, actually. I had no logo. I had basically nothing. That nobody knew it was there, and I just started posting. And I'd get one like or two likes. Both were like my mom and my wife. But anyway, and so it got started. And then a couple weeks later, I launched on Instagram and Twitter. And Twitter I had dabbled in years ago. I thought it was kind of boring, but some people found it interesting. So I was like, hey, I got to be there. Instagram was totally new to me, had no clue. My kids knew how to use it. I had no idea how to use it, but it wasn't that bad. Got that going. And as time kind of went on into September, I went to the NMRA World Finals up in Bowling Green and did some live streaming and started talking to people about what I was doing. That's actually where I recorded with Steve and KJ, was at the World Finals up in Bowling Green. Great experience. And KJ was nice enough to introduce me to Mike Murillo and some other folks. And it was just, I could tell there was something there, and the page started to grow. I think I had maybe 500 likes on the page, maybe a little more. I don't know, but I mean, it was nothing. It was totally non-existent, and kept doing that, and kept connecting with people, and had some local guys give me some content, and I had a ton of content from my time, from my cars over the years, and going to races, going to shows. I would always go to the World Ford Challenge, if anybody remembers those, the NMRA races, anything that I could get to, I would go to. And so I had tons of old pictures, and I would, for some reason, I always loved documenting stuff I did to my car, so I had build pictures of that. Actually, one of the very first podcast show I did was with Steve Moberly, and who I met back in '99, and he helped me build my '89 GT, and he had a Pure Street motor. He was actually running NMRA Pure Street at that time, and he had a motor for sale, and I bought the motor, and he was nice enough to let me install it in his garage, and this was in Illinois winter, and so we burned through 2 tanks of kerosene trying to keep warm that night. But so I had some connections, and I had some friends in the area that kind of helped it get started. But on into November, I paid to have a logo made and got the logo going, and the website kind of was decent enough. I say decent. That was the first full-fledged website I had actually published and worked on, and it was terrible. For me, I say it was decent, at my level of experience at that time, but it was absolutely terrible. I hope nobody can remember what it looked like, because it sucked. But we did the weekly features, and no BS here. I would literally get home from work, sit down, and bang the feature out in like 45 minutes, and I'd have these crappy pictures and stuff, and I would make features each week. And funny story, I haven't missed a feature yet in 2 years, or at least an event coverage article, a tech article, one a week period, sometimes two. But that's the backstory. That's how it got going. Me personally, I've had 15 total Foxes, had some Edge cars, had a Lightning, but I've always come back around to the Fox body, and it's it's not something you can really explain. It's that raw, unpolished, rattling, exhaust smell, and it's it's just something that gets under your skin. And I've had the honor and privilege to meet guys that feel the same way about these cars. Actually, over 160,000 of them between all the pages and subscribers and stuff like that. And so this has been one hell of a journey, and the everything just kept growing and kept growing. We got to go to more events, and around February of 2017, actually it's January of 2017, I started working on the new website, and totally different platform. I'd never used it before in my life. It was nothing like the other website I had done, and so I just sat down and started working on it. And when I actually got started, I wasn't sure I could do it. And as I went along, it started getting easier. I started getting more fluent with the code and how the system worked, and I figured it out. And between getting up at 4 a.m. and working until I went to bed after work every night, I was able to build the website in 3 months. And it's since then I've been I polish on it daily just to make it better. But I was blown away that we could actually do that, and it elevated us to that next level, because at first we weren't taken very seriously by a lot of brands, simply because it was kind of it was noob, it was media, or excuse me, it was I can't think of it. It was amateur hour. You could tell that it wasn't a quality site, and that bugged me every single day, because I didn't start this just as a hobby. This is a business. This is the next generation of automotive media, and every time I looked at that website, it made me sick. I was like, because I know I could do better. And we finally launched. Oh man, it was March, mid to late March, I believe. I finally launched it, and I was so freaking proud of it, and I still am proud of it. And it's something where we can expand and grow, and it's optimized for mobile. Whereas the other site, if you tried to use it on your smartphone, which I now know from all my metrics that 80 something percent of everybody that views the website does so either on a tablet or a phone. And trying to do that with the old website, it was abysmal. And so it had to happen. It had to be mobile optimized. Fast forward back to July, I started working on. Actually, it was late June, early mid June. Um, we started working on a mobile app, and I wanted to do a mobile app for a couple of reasons. Number one, it was an easier way than going into your web browser on your phone or tablet to view the content. And it was also a way that I was able to send push notifications directly to you with special offers, coupons, discount codes, upcoming events, anything relevant to you. I could send that directly to you. You wouldn't have to go, searching one of the pages and searching the posts, or go to the website to get good information about, hey, this event's coming up, or National Parts Depot is running a weekend sale, or something like that. And so that was a challenge. That one I did not build myself. I wish I had, but there just wasn't time. And for me to sit there and learn it, I had to get it up, had to go. So we did that, and that kind of brings us to present day, and the growth has been phenomenal. And I personally want to thank everybody that supports this effort. It Getting the content together is a job. I do it typically every Sunday. I start pounding out messages and getting content lined up for the week, because I have to be ready to feature 2 to 3 cars per day on the Facebook page, as well as have content for Instagram, content for Twitter. And there's a few rules that I found that I'm never going to break, that I hate that other pages do, and that's sharing or stealing content from other pages and people, or just randomly, finding something on Google, stealing it, and posting it up and say, "Hey, what do you think of this?" Or "Hey, nice car," or "What's everybody's opinion?" That, in my mind, that's low class. I don't want anything to do with anything related to low class with Foxcast Media. So with that being said, everything you see on any one of the pages was shared to me by the owner of the car or the owner of the pictures. Sometimes, we get a lot of photographers that send us, some of their work, and we share that and credit them. But we don't steal anything. We don't steal pictures. We don't steal videos. Anything you see was sent to us by the owner, and the owner's named and tagged if possible. And I think that's one big thing that sets us apart. The second thing that I decided, as far as FCM goes, is we're going to be 100% Ford powered. And the reasoning behind that is I remember, growing up and going to car shows and cruises and stuff. You had the Ford guys, you had the Chevy guys, and you had the Dodge guys. And while they all loved each other, they would all bicker back and forth about, Ford sucks or Chevrolet, is crap, or, you can't keep intake gaskets on a Dodge, crap like that. It was that competition, and, the Ford guy pulled up and he wanted to bust the Chevrolet guy's ass, or the Dodge guy pulled up and wanted to bust the Ford guy's ass. It's that competition. So, the trend with it, in my opinion, is starting to die off, of guys swapping in, junkyard LS motors into a Fox body. Doesn't fly with me, because, what do you have then? You have a Mustang with a Chevy power plant. So how is that competition? If it races a Camaro, is two Chevys racing? That's kind of my reasoning behind that. And, so I'm going to keep it 100% Ford powered. And, I've pissed a lot of people off, and I've made a lot of friends doing it. But at the end of the day, it's the right decision. I feel like it's the best thing to keep the competition, between the brands going, and that's what makes it fun. So, that's kind of the backstory on Foxcast Media, and that's something that I can, go deeper into at some point if people want to hear it. But that's the short story. I'd probably put you to sleep if I told you the long story and what it really takes to make this happen every day. But if you love what you see, if you love Foxcast Media, if you think this is something that you want to keep around, if you enjoy consuming automotive media this way and being able to interact with the people that write the articles and own the cars, and seeing the videos on YouTube, and listening to this show right here, then I need you to hop on either the website, the Facebook page, or the mobile app and click the subscribe. The subscription, I send you a free T-shirt, sticker, and I inbox you via email all of the articles every week. And it's the shirt and the sticker alone are worth $36. $36 is, that's little or nothing, but it helps me keep the lights on here. All the hosting and all the other expenses that go along with making Foxcast Media work. It's not free to do this, and so let me send you a free T-shirt and a sticker. Help me keep the lights on, and just watch what happens as we grow. I've got tons of projects coming up, lots of events coming up. I'm going to be live streaming to take you with me to these events if you're not able to go. Lots of event coverage. Of course, we're going to keep featuring your cars, and send me your pictures, send me your videos. Shoot me messages or emails. Because I can't do this content without you. I don't steal pictures. We don't, just share random crap. We share your stuff. This is your brand. These are your cars. So anyway, guys, I hope that gives you a little foresight into Foxcast Media and what we're all about, where we're going. The future's really bright, and I've got a ton of things coming up. You would not believe some of the projects I'm working on, and trust me, you're going to love them. I will spill the beans on some of the things as we go along, but for right now, thank you for your support. Thank you for, being a part of this. Click that subscribe if you haven't. If you have already, thank you very much. And trust me when I say, if you like what you've seen so far, you haven't seen anything yet. Take care, guys. Thanks again for listening to the Foxcast podcast. We are everywhere. Stop by and check us out. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and our website, thefoxcast.com. And we will talk to you next time on the Foxcast podcast.